improvement, whether it's what we can even attribute it to, because so many meds are involved. Anyways, back to,
first hospitalized in Connecticut, and then she was transferred to Mass General.
Wow.
So she stayed for a week, maybe a week and a half in Connecticut, and then was transferred to Mass General because she was still like having some problems with her oxygen, and we just weren't comfortable with the care that she was getting in Connecticut. So when we came home, I definitely had PTSD. I had to throw away the shirt that she wore that day. I can still see the shirt in my mind. I had to throw away the shirt she wore. I would not feed her what she ate before she had the seizure. I still don't really take her to the restaurant. I had taken her out to lunch, right? Like we had gone out to lunch, came home and put her down for a nap. And I still have a problem taking her to that restaurant. I don't even like driving by it. I understand it has nothing
I get it. I do.
with the fact that she had a seizure, but I don't like going to that restaurant. It's hard for me. And but it doesn't only affect me. Our son has a hard time with sleep because he was asleep, and then we didn't come back home for 2 weeks. And so he worries about, where's mommy and daddy going to be if I go to sleep? What's going to happen? He worries about, a prominent part of Kaylee's seizures is vomiting. He has a hard time with vomiting. So it's not, tuberous sclerosis doesn't just affect the person in the body it resides in.
Absolutely not.
The entire family. And it affects all the people watching, how it ravages that person's body, and it weasel its way into any little tiny crevice in your family's life.
Yes.
It affects the smallest pieces of just how you go about things. And it's hard for other people to understand because there's just so many intricate pieces. They're just, and it goes from medications to, sensory issues to seizure triggers and so many other things, like
completely all-encompassing on every level, I would say. At some point in the process of managing it, you're going to be stretched.
Right. How come you can't stay over our house a little bit later? Because we have to have medications on time.
Right.
Why can't you bring the medications over? Because they make her sleepy. And then she has to go to sleep. Why can't she just stay up a little bit longer? Because sleep is really important. And because if she doesn't go to sleep on time, that's, if she's tired, it's a seizure trigger. And, but she hasn't had a seizure in a really long time. Yes.
Everything looks okay.
Everything looks okay. Well,
oh my goodness.
Tuberous sclerosis doesn't equate to like ugly. It doesn't equate to she's gonna look like a monster. Like it means it's invisible. Like you can't really see it. I mean, you definitely can see her angiofibromas now, but still people just think she has like freckles. So it's not something you can see. So, and all those things, then why do you get so nervous about her having a seizure? I had to resuscitate my child. That is why I get so nervous about her having a seizure. I had to stand by for 4.5 hours watching her seize.
And
That changes you. That changes the very fabric of your being.
And if you're not going to acknowledge that and you're just going to pass through it, it's going to bite you in the butt.
Right. And I don't fault others who do. I don't fault others for not understanding that, because you
I don't think
unless
they
you want
can.
them, you can't understand it.
That's what I was going to say, actually, that it's not that people aren't listening. They don't have the context, or they haven't seen it. So it's almost like, you can tell someone had a seizure for 4 hours, and unless they've experienced someone having a seizure, or even then, I really don't think that people are listening in the way that they need to understand. And ultimately they won't, so it's up to us to manage our own path and all that stuff.
And people ask, how long has it been since she's had a seizure? Well, she probably had one today. We just don't know, because she has multiple focal eye deviations. Why don't you do something about it? Well, because they're not, we are trying to do something about it. We change our medications, and really these seizures don't affect much. We're not at the point that we need to do anything about the tuber that's constantly firing in her brain. I mean, it's quieting some. We're adding medication to quiet that tuber that keeps firing, but that tuber that keeps firing is probably what's making us, we're pretty certain that's what's making her eyes dart off to the side occasionally. But you can't. It happens in 1 second increments. It's probably like a half of a second. And
something only a mother would practically see.
And it literally is only what a mother would see. Dr. Theault is like, I'm usually pretty good at catching these things, and I can barely find them. She said, but somehow you always press the button, and somehow you actually know before it's going to happen, because you say it on the film when I'm looking back at it.
Uh-huh.
And then you press the button. And she said, if I can really get it in, I can kind of see it. I mean, I've sent videos of them. So we've been chasing them for years, and it's just these focal eye deviations that she has. But friends will be talking to me, and I'll say, she's right there. She just had one right now. And, because it's hard for people to understand that it's something that you're living with, even as you're sitting right there with them, that she's living with it, but I'm also living with it because I'm watching her constantly. It's hypervigilance. It's I'm monitoring
her consciousness, basically.
Yeah, I'm monitoring the amount of times that she's having those focal eye deviations. Are they increasing? If they're increasing, is she having them in clusters? Are they the amount of time that the eyes are staying to the side? Is it increasing? Because at some point it'll tip to a level where, okay, I might treat it with an extra dose of Keppra or something like that. Or, okay, I need to call the clinic nurse, and I need to get in touch, and we need to talk about it. But those are extra tasks on top of your parenting tasks and we aren't even touching upon the tanned part of TSC that we live with on a daily basis. And it's all very complicated, because I'm at this point, very protective of what I talk about, because it's Kaylee's life. It's her life. It's her privacy. And at the same time, this is our family. This is our family's life. Part of this is also my story, because that monitoring is my story. That hypervigilance is my story. It's my story as a mother. So tuberous sclerosis is, even though I don't have tuberous sclerosis, it also is my story.
It is.
It is my story as a parent. So how do you tell that story and impacted my life? Because where did it, when I had Kaylee, I had just, I graduated college 2 years before that and was right in the midst of, going, I had found a program, was looking at taking the GREs and was going to, go for, a doctorate in psychology. That was the plan. And so but I had Kaylee and there was no way. I was working full time as well as a systems analyst. They're using the statistics side of psychology that I had done in school. So there was no way that I was going to be able to work. Her care was too much. Even at this time, there's no possible way for me to work a typical job.
I'm right there. I get you. Yeah, that's been my cross to bear, especially now that they're older and it looks like they're way better, but there's just so much behind the scenes work that is just people don't see, and, you know, the uncertainty and unpredictability of it. So, and all the appointments, it's just so frustrating. So it's got to be something really creatively flexible.
Right. And so
So you put that off. I mean, you just
put all that off, and then it shaped what I did. I mean, I'd worked with kids for a long time. I have a psychology degree, and I was already teaching myself all that I needed to know to advocate for her educationally. So I did some courses in schooling in educational advocacy. So I've done some work for families in that. And so it's also shaped what I do and who I am and what I do in life. Some for better, some for worse. But
it really, I don't think it's hard to explain how it changes everything about who you are as a person and what you think about your future, present, past, and life. It just, you know, I can't say it enough how important it is to examine it on some level and really take in the magnitude of it. But also, you have to survive. You have to have some coping. You have to have some peace of mind. So where do you find that? How do you manage that?
I'm not sure that I've actually found a balance quite yet. I mean, at 9, she still functions at, I mean, it slides anywhere from a 4-year-old to a 7-year-old, depending on the skill and the day and her willingness. But that's like any of us. And
many variables.
I enjoy writing, so I started blogging mostly, I think, at first for my own sanity, because where do I put it? You know, where do I put all the thoughts? Where do I put the feelings about what's happening? And that was a tough decision because, again, about the privacy for Kaylee. And so I've tried to keep it very much about my side of the story and about parenting, about my feelings. And also I do not use her name on the blog. I believe in one post I've used her initial. I don't post her picture. I do want at some point for her, you know, when she's older, to be able to say that my mom treated me in a way that I wanted to be treated. That, you know, I always think to myself, at 9 years old, would I have wanted my mom to say that about me? Would I have been okay with that? So I
Yes.
really tried to thread the needle.